All right, Nick, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers for a minute. This is a team that is on a lot of people's radars, especially ours, for the playoff hunt, for a late season playoff push, mainly driven behind an extremely potent defense, Nick. But despite all of the changes offensively, multiple quarterbacks going down, addition of key players like Christian McCaffrey, other things, this offense might be even better than people are giving credit for, Nick. And we have a story about just that. But 'tis the season, Nick. And before we get into that, we got to ask the 49ers fans in the comment below, whether it's football related or not, what is your favorite holiday season tradition? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what do you got on the 49ers?
Yeah, so you and I have talked about the 49ers a good bit. This is a team that's quietly been just building and getting better and better. There's a lot of teams that have really dominated the headlights. You see Philadelphia, of course, even the Vikings seem to be in the news more in the NFC, certainly Dallas, than the 49ers. And frankly, in my opinion, 49ers are just as good as those teams, if not better. And there's now new analytics out that point to that very fact of how good and how dominant the 49ers have been recently. So we've got a tweet, Miles, if you want to go ahead and put it up. So this is from David Lombardi, who's covers the 49ers over at The Athletic. And here's what he noted here. You can read it on the tweet here, but I'll read it out here for you guys too. Is that since Christian McCaffrey took a full-time role, that was week 8, the 49ers are number 1 in offensive DVOA, defensive DVOA, and then number 7 in special teams. And they're number 1 overall in DVOA by a huge margin. Look at that. You have the Eagles at 34%. You have the Bills at 24%. The 49ers are at 60%. That is a huge gap. For people who aren't familiar with DVOA, just take my word for it. There's a lot of math. It's just trying to see how good are you expected above average. There's a lot of analytics and formula that goes into it. They look at really how well you're performing versus what an average player would perform versus the team and your schedule and all that. There's a lot of factors into it. The main theme here, Miles, is that the 49ers are good, scary good, and a lot better than people think they are. They are a legitimate threat offensively, defensively, special teams, coach across the board to make a Super Bowl run this year in the NFC. What do you think about San Francisco and just this crazy stat here in front of us?
Yeah, Nick. And I think San Francisco has been insane this year. And I talked earlier about injuries and coming over. They're like still not even as strong in the middle of the defense as they could be. You know, the offensive line has been a force as well, but they're a little bit weaker in the middle of the line. If they get completely healthy, I believe that Debo Samuel's even still banged up a little bit right now. You know, if all of the pieces work together, this team would easily be ones across the board. But even with them not being at full strength, they're still like very close to number 1 in most categories. That's insane, Nick. This scheme that's been put together by Kyle Shanahan and it was D'Amico Ryans is their D coordinator. These schemes that they have brought together for the Niners are insane. They're playing out of their minds, and it feels like this is the team to come out of the NFC that is the biggest threat to make it to the Super Bowl, Nick, just because they are so good at adapting to anything that is thrown their way.
Oh, 100%. I do want to give you some news on that injury front. There are reports, and they're not all confirmed yet. We'll see that Javon Kinlaw is going to be making his return soon, getting into the rotation. So he should be around for the playoffs for the 49ers. Really good defensive lineman. So he should add some more depth to that already stout defense. But I want to focus on one of the things the 49ers do defensively that I think makes them absolutely terrifying. And Bosa gets the headline that he's a heck of a pass rusher. He'll probably win Defensive Player of the Year. But Fred Warner changes the way offenses have to operate. And we've got an interesting graphic I want to throw up here for me. This is back when the last time the Seahawks played the San Francisco 49ers. And you can see this pass chart here. You can see where Geno Smith, quarterback for Seattle, obviously was throwing the football, Mice. He literally never threw it once between the hashes, the middle of the field. That is, of course, where you want to throw the ball if you're a quarterback. That's easy. That's right in front of you. Quick release, get it out of your hands, check down, seam routes, crossing routes underneath. This is the Fred Warner effect. His pure athleticism and playmaking ability terrifies opposing quarterbacks. They have to throw it outside. They have to get the ball on the perimeter. They have to get the ball on the edges, and that makes it really hard for offenses to operate. I mean, this graphic we have in front of you, there's nobody else that has a kind of graphic. Usually, you see an even disbursement across the field, or at least you see more of a heavier disbursement right at the middle. To have essentially nothing in between the hashes in the middle field is really a salute to what D'Amico Ryans, like you alluded to, has done with this defense, with Fred Warner leading the charge at his linebacker spot.